Several years ago, Don Shula was the coach of the Miami Dolphins. And he told about an experience he and his family had when they were vacationing way up in the northern part of Maine. On a rainy day in a small town, he and his wife and 5 kids went to a movie. And when they walked into the theater, the lights were still up, and there were only 6 people in the theater. And when they saw Shula and his family come in, they all got up and applauded. And Shula said to his wife, "See, they even recognize me way up here in Maine. They must watch the Dolphins on the TV." With that, a gentleman came over and shook Shula's hand. And Shula said to him, "How did you recognize me?" And the man said, "Mister, I don't know who you are, but just before you came in, the manager announced that unless 5 more people came to this theater, we weren't going to show the movie." I think the story helps us to address the concept of humility that is introduced in the first and third reading today. I'm sure we all have our own little story. I have one that I share every now and then. I was a 25-year-old deacon, and in the summer I was sent to a particular parish. And in those days, only deacons and priests could bring communion to the sick and homebound. And there was a pretty formal ritual that folks followed. Some of you may have a so-called sick call set in your house that's been passed down. You were supposed to meet the priest or deacon at the door with a lighted candle. You were then to set up this mass kit, which had more candles, holy water, a white cloth, and I think a spoon. So as I was meeting this elderly couple that I was going to bring communion to, the wife said, "Now, how should we greet you? What do we have to do?" And I said, "Oh, don't worry about all that stuff. I'm not really concerned about it." And without dropping a beat, she said, "Young man, it's not you I'm concerned about." Similar to Shula, I had been reminded of the truth. And that is at the heart of what humility is. We sometimes make the mistake of equating humility with humiliation, or with a false sense of modesty, with keeping our eyes downcast and shirking any affirmation or congratulations. That's not humility as the Scriptures present it. In the Scriptures, humility begins with our understanding of God. If we declare that God is all-powerful, all-loving, all-knowing, all-forgiving, and then we compare our strength, our love, our forgiveness with God's, we can understand that we can never come in first. God has that place. And we need to understand further that if we come in first in comparison to another human being, it's because of gifts or talents that we have been given by God. We can develop those talents, we can cooperate with God's grace at work in our lives, but in the end, the gift is for and from the greater glory of God. As you might recall your own story about being reminded just who it is that you are and who it is you are not, let's together pray that God will help us to practice the virtue of humility in our lives each day.